It is so sad to say this, but the truth of the matter is, in order for a small amount of people to make life-changing wealth in a market like crypto, you have to have most people losing the potential of life-changing wealth and oftentimes losing every single cent they put into the market. And the number one way that this extraction and this changing of money happens is because of this, is simply because emotions are manipulated in a market like crypto, especially where there is a chance that things could go as low as zero for some altcoins. And therefore, for the most part, a lot of people in a fearful market are very fearful. And also, on the contrary, in a bullish, euphoric market, everyone thinks prices will not stop. The way you overcome being treated like the rest of the market is by having a very important thing called conviction. Conviction allows you to act almost like whales or smart money. It's to not see price in terms of today, yesterday, or what it could be tomorrow. It's to see price in the next coming months and even possibly coming years to break through the panic. That is why I'll be introducing this tool to you today, the finalized and completed Bitcoin cycle clock, allowing you to assess where we are in the current cycle. I'll talk more about this in a second. The goal here isn't to just show you a single indicator and call it a day. It's to show you liquidity cycles that occur within crypto. I'm talking about crypto's version of the M2. It's to give you a perspective on the market many people I've noticed do not talk about on crypto, and I think it's one of the most important things to have a look at. But I think most importantly, what many of you may find solace in is I'm going to be giving you guys my personal portfolio and what I'm doing in the current market conditions. Okay, it's all going to be discussed in just a moment. All I ask in return, if this video has helped you in any way, shape, or form, or you have found it entertaining, is to drop down there, hit that like button, and make sure you are subscribed with the bell on. Let's begin. Lots to discuss, but let's firstly announce this, the Bitcoin cycle clock, and this is going to simply allow you to gain your own conviction. Now, of course, one thing I wanted to point out that may be obvious to some of you is actually by giving you more conviction, it kind of removes viewership from my YouTube channel. Of course, a lot of you guys like to hear my perspectives, right? But at the end of the day, giving people the power back, right? Giving the average person who may work a 9 till 5 and have no time to do their own research, this gives you the power back to go straight through the BS, hyper crazy titles and thumbnails on YouTube and on Twitter and all the rest of it, and just do your own research. And this is it. This is the tool. So again, it's got quite a few indicators. It's got 12 on and off-chain technical and fundamental analysis tools to allow you to ultimately give you one single score to look at. Bottom right corner currently is cool. This score analyzes all of these on a certain weighting. And again, the goal isn't just to time the top and the bottoms. I actually want to play you guys a quick snippet from back in 2023 on how this would look in real time here. But it's not to, again, allow you necessarily to time the tops and the bottoms, but it's to have a different perspective on the cycle. If we break through some very key levels of support, like we are at the very, very close range of doing right now for the 1 year moving average, this is going to put a lot of weight on the fact that the bull run band, which is this band here, has failed or is failing, okay, which again will tell you that things are looking grim. Now, I must admit, when I say looking grim, that could be different from today, tomorrow, or the next 6 to 12 months. Something grim today, aka cheap or oversold, okay, may be an indication that, again, the next few months could be quite rocky, but in the long term, in the right perspective, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, or maybe even 2 to 3 years, again, that's relatively oversold or cheap versus where it'll eventually be. It's to, again, change your mindset. So I do want to show you guys how this would play out in real time. Again, we are between cool and cheap right now in the current times here, and you'll see just how quickly this goes from oversold to cheap to cool to hot to warning when price gets in those particular ranges. Now, I, for one, am going to be using this tool here to talk a little bit about my own personal DCA plan in just a second, which is going to be revolving around buying Bitcoin right now, not altcoins. And a lot of you guys may freak out when hearing that. It's not because I don't believe in altcoins, but it's because I have my whole portfolio in altcoins right now. The way in which this market turns around will first be noticed in Bitcoin, and therefore using a tool like this to ladder sell out, at least for me, when this goes into warning like it does here, for example, and particularly as you'll soon see when this thing signals what's called overbought, that is the actual absolute top, roughly, of that particular move. So you'll see this in the bottom right-hand corner switch to overbought in just a second, right there, which is a score of over 83.3%, which you can see to the right of me right here, or the left of you, okay? So if you actually played this out and you, again, maybe took some profits in Bitcoin back here, and this is not financial advice, right? You would have had overbought, again, time the rough top. And it's not to use this to trade, right? If you're a day trader, all right, what is cheap based on this indicator today, or oversold, which is, of course, a great discount, tomorrow price could definitely go lower. But it's for people like myself who want to trade the general bull run trend, or again, trade the bear market. Okay, it allows us to zoom out a little bit here and gain conviction back, not to trade, even though, of course, you can use it to trade. So one of many things, again, I'm eyeing off as this indicator here is particularly this band, these EMA and SMA bands, the 50, 100, and 200-day EMAs versus the 1-year SMA. Why is this important? Well, based on history, what I have noticed with these bands is when the blue band here, which is the 100 EMA, crosses beneath the 200 EMA, that is a very bad sign, right? When price closes beneath here, we're on the daily time frame, but on the weekly or the monthly, beneath the 1-year band, that is, of course, a very bad sign as well. All of this is tracked within this tool. But as you'll soon see here, one thing many people don't talk about is this. Right, this is the SSRO. This is the stablecoin market cap versus Bitcoin. Now, when this chart goes down into the green zones, or at least underneath the midpoint here in the middle in pink, when it goes beneath that, that is stablecoin's market cap relative to Bitcoin's gaining strength, gaining momentum on Bitcoin. When it goes up, that means Bitcoin's market cap is rocketing and exceeding that of the stablecoin growth. And all that's to say is this roughly times the local highs and local lows of Bitcoin, but more importantly, allows Bitcoin to safely have a reset before moving up yet again for a larger move. Notice here in this bull run period, okay, which I'll highlight down here on the SSRO, you'll see we've only gone into the green zone 3 times. 1, 2, and now 3. Going back to the first 2, though, guess what happened straight after those first 2 dropped into the stablecoin side of things, stablecoin dominance? We had massive rallies soon after. Not immediately, but of course soon after, once we found a floor, of course. What happened after that? Of course, well, we had some of these massive tops. All this is to say, we don't do it often, at least in this cycle for some weird reason. And I think the reason may possibly be because we're so overheated. We've had so much good news after good news. Any one of these would possibly trump all the news in any other crypto cycle, that it's kind of been a point of frenzy where any money coming into crypto via stablecoins is instantly injected straight into Bitcoin because, again, it's just that hype hysteria. Given the fact that now finally we've had a healthy reset and we're back into the green zone for stablecoins to be able to once again allow Bitcoin to charge up in the next possible move, I'm actually quite bullish. And I know that many people looking at this may go, well, Kyron, that doesn't mean that we're not going to fall into a bear market. Of course, stablecoins will gain a lot of strength in that case. Well, that's when a chart like this would come in handy as well. Again, Bitcoin's priced in the very, very top. And in the bottom here is a regression band with the stablecoin dominance. Now, I want to take your attention to, first of all, last cycle, because even with the pandemic, things have pretty much been playing out exactly here yet again, and the indication is that we are not looking at a bear market right now. What we're looking at is exactly what happened in the previous cycle before the massive move up. Not to get you too excited too soon, because as you'll see, there's a fair few months ahead of us before we get to that point. But again, it's looking good. It's the right direction to be in, okay? So I'll move my head here for you guys. You can see in the last cycle, we had 1 high and 2 high, okay, which is 1 high here and 2 high here. Again, this is stablecoin dominance, right? So when this goes down, it's Bitcoin gaining strength. When this goes up, it's stablecoins gaining strength. So again, corresponding with the first and the second high in Bitcoin's price, we of course had drops in the stablecoin dominance. Great, that makes sense. We had a consolidation period here occur in stablecoins growth, and that of course corresponded with this going up close enough to the midpoint, the red line here. Fast forward to today, we have again had that one middle break, which is exactly the same as this, and I've analyzed this based on many different indicators, mainly the pure multiple. That gives us a really good indication of how both of these number one tops here were actually the same thing in just a different cycle. We then had, of course, this green zone, same thing play out here. And then we had a drop again for that second high over here. Now, what came after this second top, of course, was the pandemic. And guess what's happening right now? well, you could call it this cycle's version of the pandemic. I'll talk more about this in a minute here. This was kind of what I was talking about a month ago or so, where I was saying that we kind of need a COVID level event to drop rates very quickly and ideally, get the Fed to start buying once again, basically QE, for us to have a massive blow off top. And again, that could possibly be what is playing out right now. But either way, the timing's the same in both of these circumstances again, okay? Very eerily, weirdly similar. We then had a consolidation after that second high over here around this midpoint. So that to me would make a lot of sense if we continued up, okay? I moved this sort of blue line here for you guys. If we kind of move back up to roughly speaking around this midpoint, which would of course lead to Bitcoin suffering a little bit. It doesn't mean it'll drop to the same degree. It just means more money is flowing into stablecoins from either external places or again, people exiting their Bitcoin positions, one of the two or both. And then, of course, what came after this chop was once again a further push into stablecoin strength, and then eventually that first major top reset and second top before moving here into the bear market. And this is why I was saying that this is more of a confirmation to me in terms of we're not in a bear market just yet, because again, things are just simply playing out the exact same. Now, if we break through the red point and charge somewhere up here, that is a different story, and we'll likely see Bitcoin's price break through many, many key areas of support if that were to ever happen. But I think it's way too soon right now to call a definite cancellation of the bull run. And I think Bitcoin is respecting a few of these very important levels, as it is also with the 1 year moving average as well. Given the fact that we essentially had this reciprocal tariff news around here, okay, Bitcoin has only fallen, I say only, right? Only fallen 8 or 9%. Which, again, compared to traditional markets, Bitcoin should have fallen on the same sort of macro drop a lot more than what it has. And again, that tells me that it's respecting some of these lines, especially this ascending channel we're in right now. I'm still bullish until a lot of these Bitcoin-specific patterns begin breaking down. So again, my plan here would not be to be buying altcoins. The main reason why, and again, some of you might be thinking to yourself, well, Kyron, you believe in Ondo, Chainlink, HBAR, Render, ICP, and so on and so forth. Why wouldn't you just buy them? They'll get you more returns. And the simple answer is I have so much, pretty much all of my money in altcoins right now. I think I'm adequately hedged. So what I would do is I would be buying Bitcoin right now and only Bitcoin, again, using this particular indicator here to allow me to, as this thing ebbs and it flows, right? I'll play it again in the background here, is to actually ladder sell out when it goes into warning. And when it goes to overbought, I would completely sell out of my Bitcoin position. But until that happens, it would be a constant DCA all throughout the indicator of cheap and especially oversold. That'd be simply all I would be doing, because no matter what, Bitcoin will go up. If we have a bear market, I don't believe so, but if we do, it'll be just continuous DCA, DCA, DCA. And the reason why I'm actually not doing that right now, for those of you who don't know, is because it's almost tax season and I have a lot of bills on my side of things, so I just literally can't. I'm a human. I wish I had a money tree. I just don't. So that'd be my simple plan, is to use this to DCA on the way down, hedge against risk. My altcoin position is good enough right now. And as Bitcoin goes up, I would use the capital and the profits I would make on Bitcoin to throw it back into altcoins only. And we have complete consumer confidence back in the markets. This is the business cycle in the United States. Now, don't get it wrong, right? The business cycle itself sounds business orientated, and for altcoins to go up, we have to have retail consumers buying. But the business cycle going up is an indication consumers are spending money, actually surplus money. It's beyond the point of them putting food on the table. It's beyond the point of finishing their renovations. It is them spending money because they have so much of it. It's abundant. And right now we are beneath the midpoint of 50. That means we're in contraction for the US. As Fidelity points out here, most countries are between expansion and contraction, with the United States up towards the expansion side of things even more, which, again, as we saw moments ago, is them being close to the midpoint here. A lot of countries are about to, because of the tariffs, find themselves in that position where they have to feed their economies back to life again. Now, I could be wrong, and I'm no macro expert. I'm not claiming to be. This is one of the many thousands of theories people have had over the last couple of weeks and few months here since the tariffs were really announced. But all I will say, guys, is that usually these massive corrections have a very bright upside. There is light at the end of the tunnel, and I think we're already starting to see one of those possible lights on the tunnel come to fruition. We've had a few more possible rate cuts announced, or at least a high probability of such, for this year. I digress. What I wanted to quickly show you as well was my portfolio. All right, my portfolio has been unchanged since I made this video here 3 weeks ago, talking about my portfolio changes. But I did want to point out one thing importantly. I was down 50% 3 weeks ago. And guess what? Guess what? Now, guys, I am down 60%. Now, here's the thing. Now, I kind of announced in that video I would be comfortable, and it sounds kind of crazy, to be down as far as 60%, maybe 65%, and a little more uncomfortable around 70%. But here's the thing. I think a lot of you will be down more than that. And the reason simply is because a lot of us, and again, this is no shade. This is just coming from a position of love and trying to help you become, again, more aware, more convicted, is that you kind of maybe possibly went too deep into the smaller micro caps because you listened to people that told you that these were the only ways to make life-changing wealth. Now, from my experience and my knowledge, large caps, again, which is what I'm mainly in here, can net you some of the biggest rewards and likely will, on average, the biggest rewards in crypto when things turn around again. They also give you a hedge against risk, even though being 60% down isn't really a hedge against risk, is it? But a hedge against lower market cap risk. And so, being 70, 80, 90% down right now, that's going to hurt a lot more emotionally, temporarily, than it would, of course, being down 60%, but in large caps, in more established coins, if you will. So if you are someone who is down so much right now, there is a few ways you can actually plan to attack the situation. You can maybe possibly move out of some of these smaller coins on a rebound when you've got some of that money back. Of course, you can always sell at a loss and move money around that way. I'm not going to get into it because that's financial advice. You'll have to, of course, speak to someone that can give you that information. But all I'll say is that I do think there is a turnaround. I do think there is a brighter side. And I firmly believe by max latest year's end, we'll be in a much better position like a lot of the coins we're finding in the last cycle, right? Where basically we had the pandemic crash here of 70, 80%. A coin like Binance Smart Chain lost most of its value, 4 billion to 1.5 billion. It took about 116 days for that coin to go back to the average person being just break even. And then from there, it's still 26x from its local high. A coin like HBAR as well. This was a small cap back here, about 400 million market cap. It fell down 73%. 72 days later, it then went back to break even for those previous holders. It went up, but then came back down again for a further 113 days. So all in all, basically, if you bought the local high, it was about a whole entire year before you were back to break even again. But then it's still further 9x'd from there. This is a small cap. Most small caps, again, they probably won't get you more returns than the larger caps at this point because money will flock to the best looking coin that's the most easily accessible. So to summarize very briefly here again, I do think we're going to have, better times to still come. I do think there is still going to be some short-term pain because we don't want to be catching a falling knife right now. Let's let these indicators work for us and assess what is happening. But I do think if I was dollar cost averaging right now and I did want to keep myself, hedging into the market, right, being somewhat risk on, it would only be Bitcoin simply because Bitcoin will always react first to sudden macro policy changes. Yes, alts will soon still follow, of course, given the fact that we do have the consumer with surplus capital, but you'll always find Bitcoin reacting first. And that's where I'll use indicators to allow me to DCA out, to then eventually have more capital to throw into alts when that eventually happens. Guys, keep an eye on as well the stablecoin growth and its relationship with Bitcoin because it tells you a story that Bitcoin's price simply does not. All that being said, again, I'm trying to do my best here to keep you guys informed in the markets as information comes in. So make sure you are subscribed with the bell turned on. And with that said, it's been a pleasure talking with you. I'll see you all tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.